Welcome back to From the Shed End with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please go and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And also hit the notification bell so you do not miss a video. Now, as always, common theme is happening on these videos that I'm doing. Another poor performance by Chelsea. Another defeat under Graham Potter. I don't know where to start, as I keep saying with all these videos now. I'm not seeing anything different from this team, but it's worrying now. Now I'm worried because people are telling me, trust the process. Graham Potter's only been in for a couple of weeks, and the change in ownership and the players are now, the players aren't his players, and I get that to an extent. But if you've watched these videos, if you watch and listen to the podcast that myself and Theo did last week, you'll know that my issue is not the fact that we're losing these games. Some of these games we probably deserve to lose. Manchester City, Arsenal, we deserve to lose. Brighton spanked us. But it's how we're losing. There's no fight. It's how, I keep saying it. There's no fight from the players. Now, that's a 50-50 thing for me. Part of that goes to Graham Potter. Part of it is on the players. Because at the end of the day, Graham Potter's job is to install what he wants in those players and give them the tools or the right oomph to go and do something on the pitch. So that's Graham Potter. The players have to look at themselves in the mirror because they're not putting in performances. It's almost, and this is going back to, again, I don't want to bring up Thomas Tuchel, but this goes back to the fact of, if you think how Chelsea and the players were playing under Thomas Tuchel at the end of his time at Chelsea, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The same players that were down in tools for Thomas Tuchel has still downed them. They never picked him back up. Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz, they still haven't picked him up. Pulisic, same things every week. For me now, this is a point where we need to seriously, and I keep hearing Nkunku's coming in. That's brilliant. But if you remember back to when we had Tammy Abraham and he was, the transfer ban, and everyone was screaming, but when we get Timo Werner, when we get Kai Havertz, when we get Hakim Ziyech, we'll be fine. 3 years down the line, and we're still talking about this whole struggle and the process, and when this player comes in, when that, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. And if I'm honest, I think this now is an opportunity for Chelsea fans and anyone who's associated with the club to have a reality check and realise we are not a top 4 club anymore. We're not. We might make Champions League. When I say top 4, I'm talking about we are not in the title race. We have not been in a title race for how many years? We're not that team anymore. We're not the team that we think we are. We're not that team at the moment. And this could be one of those moments. This is going to go one or two ways. We either go and invest very well in the next couple of windows under Graham Potter and Todd Bowley, or we're going to be doing a Liverpool and not win the league for 30 years. Because that's where we are. We're at a massive crossroads at the moment, and we're either going to go really well and bring in the right players, get rid of some of those players that we know need to leave the club, or we're going to be sitting around. And I live in Liverpool, so I banter Liverpool fans even before they won their Premier League about how many times they haven't won it, or the slip with Gerrard when Demba Ba went in on goal. That could be us. We could be the banter club in a couple of months, a couple of seasons. If things don't change, we will become the banter club. We will. And this is because of years and years of bad recruitment, poor management. When you think back to it, yes, the sacking and hiring of managers works in terms of trophies, but then the knock-on effect of that is you're always having to bring in players. You always have to bring in players. Going back to the Di Matteo days, you always have to, there's a certain amount of money or a criteria that certain managers will want in terms of the players that they need to do the job. The Roman, to credit him, brought those players in when he could. Then they would sack a manager, bring in a new manager who'd want a new set of players. So we'd have a crop of players that no manager wants, and we probably just only had them for a season. They go out on loan. This new crop of players comes in. Manager has them for a while. Things start working well. The manager gets sacked. We've still got a group of players. So now we've got 2 group of players. We bring in another manager who wants another set of players. And all these years of us winning trophies and the success has now come at the price of, we've got a lot of players that we've kind of started to get rid of. The players that about, the Babaramans, etc., etc. But we're still in that place now where the cracks are starting to show. We've covered over them too much now, and we can't cover them anymore. We can't. We're at that point now. And I go into these games. I went into this Newcastle game, went to the Manchester City game in a week, and I knew we were going to lose. Last night, I did not think we were going to score. I didn't think we was going to get a shot on target. I've got to that point now where I understand the thing. I understand what's going to happen. Newcastle scored. I wasn't even annoyed because I know where we are now. This is where we are. So I hear everyone saying trust the process. We've got to believe in Graham Potter, but he's not actually showing us anything at the moment to prove that he is the manager. That should be the one that we can trust the process with. He's not showing us anything. Whether that's the players, okay, that's fine, but there's still something you can do with these players. They're not poor players. Are they Chelsea quality? Not at all. Are they Premier League quality? Of course. Are they better than what he had at Brighton? Yes, they are. So if he can do what he done with the players at Brighton, and there's fans telling me that he can't get a tune out of these players, then he is not the man, in my opinion, that should be taking his club forward. Because these players are better than the ones at Brighton. They are. Like, so how is he doing so well at Brighton with players that aren't of good quality, but he's got a crop of players here that you honestly, everyone's saying we've got to give him the time, which we do. We do have to give him the time 100%. But when we're losing, I want to see some fight. I want to see some passion from some of these players. I want to see a reaction from the manager. Doesn't make sense. I want to get into the game. We haven't really spoken about the game, but I was impressed with Lewis Hall. I thought, he deserved his start. 5 at the back. I thought Lewis Hall coming in. There was obviously question marks around Thiago Silva. Massive World Cup coming up. His final World Cup. I think, of course, he was gonna want to sit out that game. And I noticed a lot of clubs, a lot of players suddenly became sick at the weekend, so they weren't able to play. Raheem Sterling being one of them for us, and Marco Correa, who was on the bench and had to come on at some point during the second half. But I did think, we started the game relatively okay. We weren't really pressing forward. I didn't think we would with that front three of Conor Gallagher, Broja, and Mason Mount, but we were doing okay. We were rocked a couple of times by Newcastle. They were very, as I said, they would be, ready and up for the game. I think Joe Linton and Almiron and Willock were all good for them, but I don't know. I mean, the early injury to Ruben Loftus-Cheek didn't help us at all. Thiago Silva comes in. Azpilicueta was at right wing back then, I think, at that point, who I thought played okay. I thought when Silva came on, you know what you get with Silva, the Rolls Royce. But I was impressed with the back three. It was always going to be difficult because I think Koulibaly is one of these players who still, I don't feel he's really got to grips with the Premier League. You look at how many bookings I think he's got now already across all competitions, Champions League, Premier League, and I think he even picked one up at the Carabao Cup last week. So I don't think he's got to grips with maybe the pace, or that's just how he is as a centre back. But I think there's time. I think out of those back three, I think he was probably the weakest link in that game. But credit to Lewis Hall, who put in. This is what I'm going back to. 18 years of age, and he was our best player on the pitch back to back. There's a massive question now, does he retain that spot there? Because he looks comfortable, very comfortable at left back, left wing back. And as I said in one of the videos previously, he can play in midfield. When you're watching for the Premier League 2, the development squad, he plays a lot more forward in the midfield. So he's versatile, and I think he deserves to keep that spot now. Obviously, Ben Chilwell's out. There's going to be a question mark. Do you play Cucurella, or do you put him as a centre-back, or do you leave him on the bench? I think, Lewis Hall's come in, does exactly what it says on the tin. He's calm on the ball, collective. He knows what he wants to do. He gets forward. He gets crosses into the box. It's one of the things as a Chelsea fan you don't really get to see on that left side with Cucurella or Chilwell. So credit to Lewis Hall, man of the match performance. But the goal. It's not. It's a really good strike from Joe Willock, but you could always sense that goal was coming. Just as the game was playing out, I think at half time, Azpilicueta comes off. I'm still not sure if that's down to an injury or illness or just a tactical. At first, I thought it was a tactical switch from Graham Potter, and he puts Conor Gallagher at right wing back. I was lost for words. I think at that point, I realised we were not winning this game. Conor Gallagher, right wing back. Even if it was an illness to a Spilicueta or it was an injury, put a defender in that position. Put a defender there. Put Chalobah there. He puts Chalobah there, I think, 20 minutes after. He puts Gallagher at right wing back, and anyone who was in that stadium and anyone watching the game would have noticed how bad Gallagher was at right wing back and how easy it was for Newcastle. There was so much space being exposed by Gallagher. Put a defender in that position. And these are the things where I keep going back to. That's surely something as a manager you would know. Why would you put your midfielder at right wing back and expect him to do a job, and then during the game you realise, oh, we've made a mistake, we need to get him out of that position, and then put Chalobah there and go to a back four? Why didn't you just do that in the first place? It's very experimental, and that's the worry. Now, I asked someone yesterday, do you reckon Potter knows his best 11? I personally don't think he does. Yes, we've got injuries out, so you could say, arguably that we haven't got James, we haven't got Fofana, we haven't got Kante. But some of those players as well, N'Golo Kante, they might be finished at the club now. They might not have a role because the injuries are just too constant for them. They're not fit enough. When was Kante's last season where he played 80% of the games? It's the same with Kovacic. It's the same with Reece James. It's the same with Ben Chilwell. Back-to-back massive injuries that have taken them out the season. Some of these players might just have to... We might have to cut losses with them and being honest. Reece James, I would not want to see him go. I think he's still a really good player. But we have to seriously assess what other club... You don't see Man City doing it. You don't see big teams carrying players who've got injuries and then sacrificing most of their season for them to play 10, 15 games of the season. That doesn't make any sense to me. So we might have to cut our losses with N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, because some of these players just aren't the quality that we need anymore. They're not at all. So, we've got to be honest about it. But in terms of the performance itself, even at the end of the game, it's still 1-0. Potter, I think, throws the kitchen sink at it. He brings on Havertz. He brings on Hakim Ziyech. I think he's throwing everything at this game. But Newcastle, credit to Newcastle, because they defended for their lives. They done what they needed to do. I think I said in one of the videos previously, you do anything to see that game out. You've got to see the game out. And they did. They were scrappy. They were time wasting. They were stood in front of the ball. They were stopping us from taking throw-ins and taking yellow cards for the team. And that's what you've got to do. When you're 1-0 up, and I think there was, 7 minutes of stoppage time or whatever there was, you've got to just see the game out. And that's what they did. They did it in any way possible. If it means picking up bookings, and they've got 3 points now. That's the bottom line. They go into Christmas in the top 4. They've got the 3 points. So it was a poor performance again from us. Question marks over the squad, of course, 100%. We've got injuries out. I get all that. But the question I want to leave with everyone watching this video is, what have you seen so far from Graham Potter to make you think he might be, or he should be, the manager to take us forward? What have you seen in terms of the performances? Because it's the performances I'm talking about, not his off the field training stuff, that whatever happens on the training pitch. I'm talking about in the game, during the game, team selection. What have we seen from Graham Potter in the short space? Let's give him that credit as well. The short space of time. But what have we seen? Have we improved under Graham Potter? Let me know in the comments, because I don't think we have. But if someone thinks we have, let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know at what point and what game you saw an improvement from how we were playing last season. Personally, I think we've declined, if I'm honest. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We've got a nice Christmas break now. Last game up before the World Cup. Got it out of the way. Got it out of our system. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit up the Linktree link as well in the description. That will take you to all the podcast episodes and the social accounts as well. This has been T.Dot. Until next time, stay safe. Thank you very much for watching this video. And we'll be back in a couple of days with some sort of special content for the World Cup. So keep your eyes, ears and everything else peeled, and hit that notification bell as well. Thanks for watching.